Hey familia, Igni here, and welcome back to Shadowverse. A new expansion has just been announced on the Shadowverse 7th anniversary stream, along with a whole lot of other news, but let's focus on the expansion for now. Heroes of Rivenbrandt. Looks like a lot of old favorites are coming back, a lot of familiar faces here, and yeah, it's coming out on the 27th of June. Before we dive into it, I want to just let you know that I have my own card reveal happening on June 23rd on this very YouTube channel, so make sure to tune in to that. I'm very excited to show you guys. Alright, let's dive into it. They revealed quite a few cards, and I want to talk about their effects and their potential ramifications. That being said, obviously we don't have the full picture because only a few cards have been revealed, but we'll take a look at whether or not they can work with the existing cards we have in the current rotation minus Edge of Paradise, because that's the set that's rotating out. Let's jump into it, but first make sure to like the video and subscribe. It really does help out. Alright, we even got the fancy graphic and everything. First up, Arya, Dutiful Fairy. Arya is back, baby. You thought she was gone? Nuh-uh. 2/2/2. Fanfare, put a fairy into your hand, give it Evolve on Fanfare, and at the end of your turn, return this card to your hand. On Evolve, this card has Storm, Strike. If allied followers have evolved at least 7 times this match, give Storm to all allied fairies. Okay, that's pretty hype, honestly. It doesn't gain any stats on Evolve, which is a little bit disappointing, but there's a lot of potential support for this. I know that the Fairy Forest camp is sort of split into two, where people are either playing the Philly version with an OTK on Nobilis, or the pure Evolve version using, what's her name? Alice? Why did I forget that? Alice, of course, as one of your finishers. Honestly, I think the Philly version is a lot less consistent, and the Alice version is probably more like easy to come to grips with, because the Philly version is really just like a combo deck that it's honestly kind of difficult to assemble the pieces on time unless you're some kind of like top deck luck god. Whereas the Evolve version, at least for me personally, I feel like you always have stuff to do every turn. And in that version of the deck, this is kind of crazy, right? It gives you another payoff for evolving alongside Alice, and it works really well with like the other stuff that buffs your fairies, giving your fairy Storm, Nobilis, the Evolve fairy out of Shining Valkyrie, for example. You know, the Plumeria buff also gives stuff Storm, so that's supplemental to this. Like you do that before this. Plumeria also auto evolves. I mean, let's just take a look at the cards right now, right? You have so many cards that evolve fairies now. You got the Plumeria, the Shining Valkyrie. You also have the Fairy Fun Fact, of course, which I can't even forget about. It's Evolve and Fairy, and then the Fairy is a 3/3. You run it in with Arya for even more damage. And then like Castell is kind of crazy in this too. Verdant Prayer buffing all of your 1-drop fairies and then giving them all Storm. Like there's a very real scenario here where that becomes like a huge payoff. And you know, Fairy Forest has really fallen off recently, especially in tournament play, compared to Magachio, so this is like a huge additional piece for that deck that I think can probably help bring it back into relevance. The only thing that Fairy loses out of the rotation of Edge of Paradise is, what's it called? Silent Suzuka, or I should say Woodland Pest Control, which is a bit of a bummer, but Arya is a huge, easy slot into the Evolve variant of Fairy Forest. Next up, we have Canon Yearning Heart, a 1/1/2 gold follower for Forest. When this follower leaves play, put Fairy into your hand and restore 1 defense to your leader. Evolves, when it leaves play, draw a card and restore 3 defense to your leader. It's not bad. It's not bad. In Fairy, I'm not entirely sure how worth it this is. I mean, it's good, right? You play this on 1 as a 1/2 goblin. It's hard to remove, especially compared to stuff like Aqua Fairy, which is much easier to remove because it only has 1 defense, right? You can play this, and then you have a 1-drop that's very likely to stick, and then with that 1-drop that's likely to stick, you can bounce it back with Windflower Tiger or Salvia Panther, so it's a good card for Fairy for sure. That being said, I think it's also a good card for Magachio. You can replace Blade Bunny with this, right? Because now you have a 1/1/2 that actually does something on its base form, instead of just being a 1/1/2 that does nothing unless you evolve it. Plus, on the evolved version, if you evolve it with Rain, for example, you get a draw and a 3 defense, which is more defense restoration than a single strike Blade Bunny, right? So I think it's pretty good in Magachio, and it's pretty good in Fairy Force as well. I think both of these have a lot of potential, frankly. And Fairy does need it, because Fairy and Portal, or rather Forest and Portal, I should say, are sort of the 2 least represented classes right now. So giving them some support on 1 or more of their archetypes is very much appreciated. I think this is pretty exciting, honestly. Like, the Alice version of the Fairy deck is the one I prefer, so having Arya as another payoff is amazing. Alright, for Bloodcraft, we have Do Blame, Seeker of Beauty. 2/2/2, Fanfare, choose, put Peckish, Owlcat, or Leopardian into your hand, and change its cost to 1. So Peckish Owlcat, of course, is the ward that destroys a 1 attack or 1 defense enemy follower, and Leopardian is just a 2/1 storm. So, if allied followers have evolved at least 5 times this match, evolve this follower. When an allied Peckish, Owlcat, or Leopardian comes into play, evolve it. Okay, so clearly this is Evo Blood support, but the problem with Evo Blood is that they lose quite a lot with the rotation of Edge of Paradise. If you just come here and look at Edge of Paradise, they lose Itsurugi, and Scorpion of the Depths, and Lord of Devastation, which is one of their biggest payoffs. But, like, especially the loss of Itsurugi is huge, losing the 1 play point ping of Wolfling Struggle for an easy 4 damage and draw. But the addition of Do Blame, returning as a legendary, is actually pretty sick. If you're at 5 evolves, you get basically 2 additional free evolves with Do Blame and the Leopardian. The Leopardian kind of replaces the Wolfling Struggle as a 1 play point 4 damage attacker. Plus, with 2 additional evolves going from 5 to 7, you then activate Alice, which can be another piece in your evolved Bloodcraft deck. So they're pushing evolve here. It's kind of hard to see how good evolve is gonna be going forward. Because we don't have all the pieces. We only have an addition of Do Blame, right? Obviously, we still have Signa and Tevali and all of them, and the deck is playable as it is right now. Not amazing, but playable. The addition of Do Blame is going to give it more consistency and a little bit more versatility as well, with the potential of getting a ward that can 2-for-1 or some storm damage for free. But what I'm really interested in is evolve archetypes in general might make a huge comeback in this format, in this expansion, I should say, because there's a couple of pretty scary threats in the key art here. Specifically, Grimnir, who is usually an evolve payoff whenever he comes back, so we're gonna have to see what the future holds for future card reveals, but I think evolve archetypes are definitely being pushed here a little bit. I mean, we see it here in the Fairy Forest, and now we're seeing it in the Blood. In terms of what they lost, in terms of what they have right now, like I said, they have Tevali, they still have most of their pieces for evolve, so it could very well end up being something really scary, right? Like, the fact that you can use Alice, Tevali, Signa, now Do Blame as well. Evamia can still potentially evolve for free. It's actually getting pretty nutty. And also, not to mention the new neutral that just came out, right, in the last mini expansion. Like the Blooming Dancer, adding another free evolve on top of that. The only huge loss, again, Itsurugi and Scorpion, but we're gonna have to see what else Blood gets and also what the neutrals have in store for this set. Alright, going into Portalcraft, we have Retrofia Divine Mother. This is the return of Artifact Portal, and frankly, the cards they revealed for this archetype are pretty nutty. So Retrofia, crystallize 1, countdown 10. During your turn, allied artifact followers get Rush, and you subtract 1 from this countdown. Last word, summon this follower. On Fanfare, it deals X damage to all enemies, X being the names that have been destroyed. So names artifact is coming back. And when the follower is on the field, artifact followers get Rush and Ward. Okay. So having Crystallize 1 quest, the payoff being a 7/7 that buffs all your artifacts is awesome. And also giving your artifacts rush the entire time. So now when you summon Analyzings, you're just cycling through your deck. It's pretty incredible. Let's take a look at the artifacts that Portal has in rotation right now, minus Paradise as we go into this new format. Do we have a lot of good artifacts? Like I know we lose Merciless Voiding, which is honestly a huge loss, but there's still a lot you can do here. Like for example, you still have Cyclical Fate as an option for yourself, which is awesome. Getting your Deus Ex Machina cycling through your deck to find more artifacts, and that's going to be relevant in a second. We'll talk about the other card that was revealed for Portal here. Robopup is incredible again. Cycling through your deck, you have Dimension Crack now too. Not to mention, you still have Vermidea available, right? You still have Vermidea, which is another easy name for yourself. And then the addition of Judith as well is so fantastic for Artifact. New Discovery, Mechanical Amalgamation. Like if you play turn 1 Retrophia, turn 2 Mechanical, you already get a 2/1 rush that draws and adds to your names like right away and decreases the countdown of your Retrophia. It's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, Portal also loses Celestial Artifact, which is kind of a bummer. But I'm very interested to see like how good artifacts come as we get into this new format. Like again, we have Zerk as well, being able to cycle your artifacts, get you another name, accelerate 1, draw card, restore 2 is pretty awesome, right? You have Absolute Chastity as a potential. That's kind of cope, but I don't know. This one is really tough. We're obviously going to need to see how much other artifact support comes in. But even with the pieces like that we currently have, as limited as they are, I'm already starting to see the vision. And that's even before we get into this new card here. Evamia, Spinner of Threads. She's a main deck artifact, by the way. Put 2 Mystics into your deck, change their cost to 1. What? Oh, main deck artifact, put 2 Mystics, change their cost to 1. Mystic being obviously the ward that draws a card. 1 cost 2/3 ward that draws a card. It's another name, it's more cycle. It's a great target to find off of your Deus Ex Machina discard. And then if at least 6 allied artifact cards have been destroyed this match, evolve this follower. So if you have 6 names, you get the payoff of a 4/4 ward that has last words counter magic. The next time your leader takes damage, reduce that damage to 0. And again, you have the ability to ping it yourself using Robopup. So if you're really in a pinch, you can evolve this and get your own counter magic. That being said, counter magic has been a little less useful lately. Like Lyrala has counter magic, for example, and like that still doesn't really stop like huge OTK turns most of the time, but you can definitely annoy your opponent with this, and it's already good as a main deck artifact by itself. So I think this card is very, very strong. Like I said, even with the limited cards that we have, I'm already starting to see the vision. Finally, we have Kyrie, Fragment of Hope, as a neutral gold follower. And this card, I thought at first it was mid, but the more I look at it, the more I like it. So it has Fanfare, put a random follower from your deck into your hand and ward, and then Evolve, put a random follower from your deck into your hand, recover 2 play points. You already want to be using your Evolve points if you're running an Olivia and Sylvia deck so that you have the turn 5 refresh. If you're going second, you can play Kyrie, Evolve, you recover 2 play points, so you spent a 1 play point. Like you only spend 1 play point to get a 5/5 ward that draws 2 from your deck. And then imagine if you're Blood, right? You can play alongside this Blooming Dancer. You can play alongside it, like it's pretty good, I think. The more I look at this card, the more I'm impressed with it. And it kind of cements to me that they're pushing Evolve very hard in this set. Like, they want you to be evolving as much as possible, because like being able to draw 2, get a cheap, sturdy ward that also has evolve synergy, and like it's so necessary too, because in Edge of Paradise, like the rotation of Edge of Paradise, we're losing Angel's Blessing. So that source of neutral draw, like, it's gone. So now we have a new source of neutral draw that tutors 2 followers. It doesn't have a heal, but it has ward, so the parallels are there. And it's evolved synergy too. So I think it's actually quite a good card. Like, I might put this in like every evolve deck, frankly. Like any deck that can like recover evolves. Like Kyrie is just such a strong play. Like on your evolve turn, a 1 play 0.55 draw 2 is I don't know. I think this card is cracked. Alright, those are the cards revealed so far for Heroes of Rivenbrandt. Let me know what you think of these cards in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. Like the video if you did. Don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content in the very near future. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.